A big part of my job as a designer is to design graphics for use on digital platforms. I wanted to show my raw and realistic design process I go through using a company very similar to my own client. What you're seeing is my authentic process, and little has been planned out, so you can see the why behind the design choices I made. So sit back and enjoy the process. So here we are in Adobe Illustrator to do our mock-up digital ad. I'm going to do a generic kind of horizontal ad because you're mostly going to be working with the horizontal space. There'll be a lot of instances where we're going to be working with square dimensions and also vertical, but I like to kind of start off with this horizontal version because I feel like it's easier to adapt to the other sizes. So here we go. So I have these mock-up logos I work for a real high-end mall, regional mall, town center, but I wanted to make up a different one just for client privacy and kind of do more of a mock-up version. So I kind of whipped these up, just kind of did an oak leaf trace vector, and I did two different versions because most clients will have a vertical version of their logo and a horizontal version, and you're definitely going to need to have both of those options when we're doing really small, tight display ads. We're going to need to really maximize our logo and make sure that it's flexible because we're going to have some really tight spaces we're going to have to work that logo in and be readable. So I have those as kind of brand assets as well as a little leaf. I have a photo I'm already interested in using. This is going to be a high-end mall, a town center type place. And I also have a list of the stores that they want to promote. So I kind of have some basic elements. I don't have a call to action yet, and we're going to figure that out after we put the basic elements of the ad together. When I put together a digital ad, I put together kind of the basic version because there are going to be different variations depending on what social media platform, whether it's going to be a regular post or a paid post. There's so many different variations that we're going to need to come up with. So I do something a little bit more on the generic side, and then we can go out and do different variations after that. So I have our photo, so I'm just going to, what I love about picking out photos for social media posts is I love to find them where I have a lot of extra room on the left, right, top, and bottom sides because you're going to have to adapt this photo to so many different sizes. The more cropping room that you have for your photo, the more flexible it's going to be. So I found this one to be fairly flexible. I can use this on a vertical and I can use this on a horizontal ad. Let's go ahead and get the right sizing for this ad. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of crop it, put it off the page. I want to leave maybe a column of white space to kind of stack our restaurants and our stores and also our logo at the bottom. So I'm just going to leave a little area for that. And anything that bleeds off the edge, I'm just going to go ahead and take my rectangle tool and I'm just going to crop it just to kind of block that out in my mind. And I'm going to get my direct selection tool. Let's go ahead and find the right cropping for this. I want to focus on the bag for sure. Shopping. There's two different items here. We have jewelry and luggage and bags. So I want to make sure we focus on that. So I want to start to figure out what logo I'm going to use. So since it's going to be a vertical orientation where I'm going to be placing the logo, that'll be an easy choice. I'm going to get my vertical version of the logo. I want to leave a little room for a call to action, but since I'm not sure how much room I'm going to have left over, I'm going to wait on that. Let me go ahead and bring our store names in. And so in terms of picking a font choice for this, we have two different fonts here from the logo branding that we want to pull from. So let's find out which one we think works better. So this is a sans serif, and let's close the spacing between the lettering. So that's one option. Let me do all caps. And let's add some spacing and white space between all these. So let's make it smaller and add some more spacing between the lines. Add a little more leading. Call it leading. So that's an option. Center align might look a little bit better. And let's check the weight on this. So right now I have semi-bold, but let me see how regular looks. And I'm going to try light, but I have a feeling that's not going to be a strong enough weight to show up. Because really you're going to see this ad about this size. This is the size you're going to see it if it's a Facebook post in your Facebook feed. So it's good to zoom out and kind of be able to see how it's really going to be viewed. So let's flip back to semi-bold. And let's add a little spacing. I like some spacing in my lettering, and let's make it a little smaller and close the leading down a little bit. I want to make sure I have ample white space between these edges so it'll help the design breathe a little bit. So let's see, do we like that? That's an option. I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to try this other serif font in the Simon Oaks. And I need to close the spacing because I just don't have that much room. And shrink it down to the same thing we did. Let's make it all caps. And let's add some leading. Let's center a line. Or you know what, we could do a left align here. Let's see what that looks like. And I believe I have some weight options here. This is Marion. I do have a bold, so we may have to use the bold for the digital ad. And we would probably use a lighter weight for a print ad, since that's going to come out a little better than a digital. Digital, everything is so much smaller. So you really got to increase the weights on your fonts and use bolder weights. So there is an option. I feel like since the logo is such a center aligned logo that we almost have to follow that throughout this area. So since this is such a strongly centered logo, let's do center align for our text as well. And let's really stretch that out. That was almost too much white space. So we can stretch it out a little bit. So I'm liking that. I think that looks nicer, or more nice than the serif. So we have kind of two options here. And there's something about the serifs that give it a nice look. You see a lot of sans serifs in digital ads, so it's really refreshing to see a serif. So now that we're starting to get kind of a basic layout going, let's fine-tune some things and make sure we have the proper spacing. So I'm just going to make sure this is center aligned with this white column. So I'm just drawing a simple box and then just doing some center, go up here to my align panel, making sure everything is nicely aligned. So I'm going to group that together, align all of these elements, bring that back. There we go. And something about that, I don't think the font's outlined yet, so it's not aligning properly. So I'm just going to optically align that. So let's zoom out. That looks good. So we need a call to action. We kind of have the list of stores, and this is kind of our full ad, quote unquote. So this will be used for our larger images. So Facebook post, Instagram post, anything smaller like that, like mobile ads or display ads, we're going to have to maybe remove all the listed store items and have a simple call to action or website. So there's going to be probably 10 to 12 different variations that we're going to do in this class, and it's usually what I do with clients. So this is exactly what I do with my current client that's in a similar industry. So you're going to kind of get a little bit of an insight of what I do on a daily basis in terms of developing their social media campaigns and doing all the graphics for it. So call to action. I'm just going to get a simple box. I'm not 100% sure the call to action. That's something the client will come up with, but I'm going to do a simple shop now, although that's probably not going to be the final call to action, but we're going to go ahead. It's going to be about that length of text. And so this is a very simple ad. It doesn't have a lot of color. And so we can really take that opportunity to really draw attention to the call to action by making it a strong color. So I'm thinking for this button or whatever the call to action is going to be, that it be kind of a very simple, strong color. So here we go. Let's go ahead and drag this down. There's going to be a couple different areas. We don't want it to be too obnoxious. Obnoxious? I can't speak today. We don't want it to be yelling at you too much because this is a very subtle, simple, high-end ad. And so we need to be careful about sizing, and then we get the right balance between the design elements. So I want to make this small, but not so small you can't read it. But since it's going to be a bright color, that'll help us in being able to draw attention to it. So you notice the sizing, I think that's probably going to be the right sizing for the call to action. Maybe just a hair bigger. But any bigger, it's going to just draw too much attention. It's going to lose the elegance of the ad. So we could do this lower left, but then it starts to get interfering with the product. Right here, the Louis Vuitton bag. So perhaps right here in the middle where we have some extra space. And let me just go ahead and come up with a good call to action here.